her plans from Soweto to Lagos, Nairobi to the Cape. She's rewriting the stories they said she couldn't shape. Moms rising in Africa.
We are in conversation with greatness. I should have said to be continued in the previous one, because now we continue with Dr. Tracy Mmako Mkhonza. I'm going to say the last one as well. And wow, I think the last session that we had for me really was life-changing. Like I said, when I closed that, I'm drawn back to gratitude. And gratitude is the best position for receivership. I heard that. I think Joe Dispenza says that. So when you're grateful and you mean it and you are emotionally involved in your gratefulness, you are able to allow your subconscious mind to give you more reasons to be grateful, and you start attracting more things that makes you grateful. So we are moving to this session. Welcome once again, Dr. Tracy.
Thank you so much.
So this time around, I don't know what I will be coming out with, so yes. I will not predict. All I know is that it's another level of transformation that we're going to be taken through. I am Lerato Sithole, your host and the founder of Think and Grow Rich Africa. And once again, you are in conversation with greatness, the name of our podcast. We've met Mlebogeng at different or in different levels of life and milestones, and also got to meet you and understand your journey even more. I still need to take a breath from what we did, what we worked on in the previous episode. I'm interested to now understand. Mlebogeng is 15 years. How old is Nobuhle?
Nobuhle is 7.
Nobuhle is 7. Sakile
is 2 going on 3.
2 going on 3.
Yes.
So now there's a big family.
Mm-hmm.
Motherhood is no longer questionable.
Yes.
And God has blessed you with those 2 children, where those milestones that some of us take for granted, you've also had to experience the other world now,
yes.
which I think is a blessing. So when Nobuhle was a baby, I think things were different.
Yes.
Like maybe when Nobuhle was 2 years, walking the journey with Mlebogeng was still pretty much standard the same way as it was, because Nobuhle was not probably an active participant.
Yes. Yes.
But I want to guess that now she's probably an active participant. If I think
yes.
of my 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they can go and conquer the world.
Yes.
They know how things work. They are very opinionated. I have one daughter, so I mean, if it's a girl, really a big gift with words,
yes.
and sentences and opinions. And
absolutely.
I had a very hyper daughter. She still is, but I think now there's a bit of restraint that she's applying. At what point did you have to then start being conscious in Mlebogeng? So I want to say her teenagers, which would have started 2 years ago at the age of 13.
Yes.
And I think that could have been also maybe pretty much the same age that Buhle was starting to have opinions.
Form opinions.
Yes.
Yes.
I wonder how the world was there. Was there a need for you and your husband to be conscious and intentional about integration? And I'm sure you would learn a lot of new things in that.
Yes, I think every stage brings with it its own challenges. And Mlebogeng's transition into teenagery was not an easy one. And we were doing that on the backdrop of having Nobuhle, who now could speak, could notice something that was nice or not nice. And at that age, she was completely selfish about her world. She felt like she should completely be able to control what happens and what what doesn't
Who's that?
happen.
Nobuhle.
Nobuhle.
Yeah, yeah.
So very opinionated young lady, but that opinion is happening on the backdrop of Moleboheng now going into early adulthood, you know.
Right, yeah.
And I think for the majority of parents who have autistic children, they have boys, because autism in general is more common in boys than in girls.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yes, so 1 in 4
Okay.
people with autism are girls. So
Oh,
it means the
okay.
other 3 are boys.
Wow.
So navigating the time when her period started.
Oh,
First,
there's that.
There is that.
Oh,
So that was
another
happening.
thing I would probably take for granted. Yes.
That was happening at the same time as Nobuhle knowing how to talk and knowing how to say, I want this and I don't want that, and that kind of a thing. And for Moleboheng, even though she could speak, but what was happening to her was strange, that her only way of communicating was violence. So she, you know, the beginning of a period, before you even see the physical period, you see a child who is dysregulated, who is defiant, who is extremely violent. And if you can imagine this level of frustration for a teenager, she was violent to the people who wanted to help her the most. And that would be me, that would be my husband, that would be our helper, whichever one we had at the time. And that, you know, it was painful to have to, at some point, remember, because I'm a doctor, I always try to medicate her before I go to a colleague to say, okay, there is something that is very wrong here, and I want you to help me. And because I think it's difficult to be a doctor to your own child.
Yeah, right, yes.
So that I put a big highlight on, because I found myself prescribing and trying out medications out of desperation.
Yes.
I wanted her to be calm. And because when I eventually realized that it was the period that was doing this to her, I immediately wanted the period to stop. And
to stop how now?
Exactly.
Like,
You see,
okay,
then
right.
you are an irrational parent. You are an impossible parent for someone who is trying to help you.
Yes.
But the reason why I wanted the period to stop still remains even today.
Okay.
I don't think it is possible for me to have a conversation with Moleboheng about sexual health. I don't think so. She doesn't have the intellectual capacity to be able to understand that conversation and really embody it. So that is struggle number 1.
Hold it there, and we're gonna go to struggle number 2. I think it's you've said it a lot around the intellectual capability. Can you what is that like? And I want to understand, because there are things that you push through. We went through that in the previous conversation. You pushed through. You believed. You had something, and we spoke a lot about faith, about a whole lot that, you know, where you couldn't give up and take and accept.
Yes.
The intellectual part, it seems like you've got a level of comfort and acceptance around it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Because I understand it to be something that I cannot change. And I understand it to give her a certain level of limitation. But that doesn't mean that she is limited in all things. So I know that she's got moderate intellectual developmental disorder, which means she's got a moderately lower level of intelligence than a typical child, right? So that I accept, because I can see it in motion. I can see it in the pace that it takes for her to learn a new skill, how long it takes for her to be able to adjust to normal environmental changes, right? Because that speaks about the level of executive function that a person has. So her functioning level is much, much lower.
So does that mean school-wise is not?
Yes, it means school-wise, she will do better in terms of learning skills at a slower pace than actually learning algebra. You know, so the algebra part is
You're
is
not even
really-
taking that
I'm
journey.
not even taking that journey.
And you
I'm
found
not,
your-
I've found comfort in that. I've learned to embrace the things that she can learn
Yes.
more than just staying focused on the I can't.
Wow.
The things that she can't learn, you will never ever hear me pushing them. And I even make it a point that in my everyday conversations, I don't spend a lot of time speaking about the things that she can't do, but I spend more of my energy on the things that she can learn.
Wow. Think of those things that are good, those things that are of good report.
Upon these things you
Yes.
shall meditate.
Yes.
So I'm not going to, wallow in the grief of saying, how can I, as such a high achiever? Those thoughts do come, by the way.
You're a
But-
doctor, you're a high
yeah,
achiever.
I'm a high achiever. And here I am. So I've learned to parent Moleboheng as she is, not as I wish she could be. That is the reason why in the previous podcast I spoke about going through a period of grieving
yes.
the child that I thought I would have.
So you
That-
let go and you accept it okay.
Yeah, I completely let it go to
Yes.
say, okay, this is my child, much to the sadness of everyone in my family, because I think for them, it was difficult to understand the diagnosis, because it was the first time ever as a family we ever experienced someone being a family member having that problem.
Yes.
That is number one. And number two, for them, they held on to the hope that she will be completely healed.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think in many ways, I've left them there. So every time I speak of, a certain challenge or a certain achievement, my mother particularly would say, as she grows, she's going to outgrow this whole situation. I don't push for her to be where I am, because I respect the relationship difference between being a grandmother and being a mother.
Sure.
Because they live on a crossroad where they want to still support me as their child.
Yeah.
And they also want to be grandparents to
Yes,
my child.
yes,
And in many instances, what is good for me might not necessarily be good for Moleboheng.
Right.
So for them, they live in that crossroads. And I think I leave them there so that they go through their own journey without me having to push my agenda on them.
Right.
I allow them to experience us as we are. And they must use their own cognitive abilities to decide how they will handle the situation. So I never ever push.
Yeah.
But I know that as we speak now, there is no cure for autism, and there is no direct treatment for
Yes.
autism. So
Yeah.
there is not that one tablet that you will find on the shelf that says, I treat everything that is autism. Because autism is such a broad spectrum that
Right.
from one person with autism to the next, they don't struggle with the same thing.
Yes.
So we do more symptomatic management rather than curative, management of saying, if I give you tablet B, then tomorrow you will wake
Yeah.
up being a typical person.
Yeah.
So I had
Okay.
to go through that
Yes.
that process
To
of
come to this acceptance. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when it comes to intellectual capacity, I never ever question it.
Yeah.
And I try my best not to limit her even where I'm not supposed to.
Yes.
But when it comes to the issue of, sexual health as a girl child grows.
Because you would sit with your daughter and teach them. Yeah.
Yes, you would sit with your daughter and have the birds and the bees conversation and have a conversation about periods that, these things come every month.
This is what they mean.
And this is what they mean, and this is how you should handle them.
Yes.
And when I say handle them, another person might think of the child being careful about how they handle their relationship with the opposite sex and stuff like that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the pure hygiene that you need to apply as a woman when you are on your period. This is not something that I can explain or even teach to Mleboy. So when you don't even know when she's violent. Is she violent because maybe she's having period pains? It's possible. Is she violent because the texture of the sanitary towel is not the correct one? You'll never where are you going to get that answer? Is she uncomfortable because she actually has a physical fear of seeing blood? How do you navigate that? So for me, that is the thing that made me feel that, you want
them to go away.
I want them to go away. And for everyone who is a doctor, we know that we can take them away. You know what I mean?
No, we don't know.
No, we know that we can. Yeah, we can take them away if the situation necessitates that. So the other important thing about this teenage stage and the level of violence that came with it was that I realized later in the journey when I now decided I'm going to take her to go and consult. Now, this girl has been on a medical aid her entire life, right? And I take her to the doctor and I explain, okay, she's very violent, windows are broken, televisions are broken. And I have a small child there who I didn't want to be a victim of circumstances because remember that the violence of expressing discomfort is not a directed violence.
Yes.
So it's not a person
attacking someone
who is angry at person A. And therefore she goes specifically to attack person A. This is not a well thought of, premeditated kind of attack. It is an haphazard, disorganized attack from a child who is trying to seek for help. So you had to interpret it in that way and be now a mother to two people who require different things.
Yeah.
So my little one requires safety and the freedom to express herself and the and the right to feel safe in this home environment. And then Big Sissy is experiencing something that she cannot explain, and that thing is pushing her more towards a violent end. So you had to...
Wow.
It is easy in that situation to start experiencing feelings of resentment, to say, Wena, guilty, Wena, in the right. Why are you attacking your sister? Or why are you attacking me as your mother? Because you are interpreting it as an attack. So I had to reach that point where I'm saying, is this an angry, rebellious teenager? Or is this just a child going through a misunderstood stage of teenagery in the background of autism?
Because, even with us, the period is not the best of time in any month.
Exactly.
or there's mood swings, there's we've learned to navigate.
There's irritability.
But there are nuances.
There are nuances
Yes,
there.
yes.
And then when you take these normal seeming nuances, you put them in a person who has autism, who struggles to communicate, show emotion and all the like, then you are having yourself a volcano that could erupt in any form or way. So that is, the one part of autism that I think, because autism is more common in boys, the conversations around the violence that comes with autism are more conversations of violence as it pertains to a male child.
Yes.
That what happens to them when they have those manly surges
Yes.
of testosterone. And testosterone is well known and accepted
Yes.
to give men that violent edge.
Right.
And now I'm dealing with a girl.
And there aren't lots of conversations.
And
that
there
can
aren't
help you.
lots of conversations that can help you. And now you have to have a different understanding of what hygiene looks like. So you want her to be able to put a sanitary pad and stay with it. You want her to accept the fact that every time she goes to the bathroom for the number one, she will have to see this physical thing attached. So it's something that it also took me, aback a little bit to say, oh my goodness, I didn't envision that this was going to be this tough. Because before we reached the teenage stage, I was dealing with a whole lot of other challenges that I didn't even have the time to think about.
And plan ahead.
And to think about what it would be like, or to even ask questions around it.
Right.
I just was surprised by this sheer violence. And I myself often get to be in that position where I am injured by my own child. Wow. Because I'm injured by her because I want to protect the helper. I don't want her to bear the brunt of that violence, because she's there to do a certain job and she must be able to do that in a safe environment. So now you are like a triple, quadruple caretaker. So I have to protect the helper. I must protect my husband from the violence. I must protect my little children from the violence. I must protect myself, and I must also still protect and love her.
Oh.
Because in a space where she has no outlet to hurt another thing, then she will hurt herself. So I must still also protect her from herself. And I must also get a little bit of space on the corner to nurse my own wounds. And to understand that the physical pain that I go through from being hurt in that violent outburst is nothing compared to the emotional turmoil that goes on within. So you understand that in so much as you have to have physical strength to be able to hold and restrain.
Yes.
Because with autism, you are not going to be able to return a violent outburst with another level of violence.
Yes.
So what we do
can't
usually,
smack and
you can't
punish.
smack, you can't say you spare the rod and the child does another thing. But you have to have a way of restraining just enough to not harm her, but enough to let her down regulate. So, and those restraints hurt you more than they hurt her. Because you are cognizant of the fact that you shouldn't hurt her, so you can't hold on too tight. But you are being hurt because as you are holding, she is fighting. It's not that when you hold, then the fight immediately ceases, because we do not have the cognitive ability to recognize that when I'm held like this, it means mommy wants me to
calm down
and stop what I'm doing. So you are in pain, you are using a lot of strength, and you still have to talk through the emotions with her without you breaking. Because if she even senses a crack in your voice, she understands that to mean she is more powerful than you.
Yo.
And therefore, you are not going to be able to slow her down as quickly as you should. So that is one part. That is maybe the part about just me and her, right? We probably get out of every bear hug with me and her both experiencing
Some
different levels of pain. But we then have to think about the little one who is observing without an understanding of what this diagnosis means to this sister. She doesn't understand the diagnosis, number one. So now you are there, you want to keep Nobuhle safe, and you want to convince Nobuhle that your sister is still a good person.
Yes.
You mustn't be afraid of your sister.
Wow.
Very difficult thing.
Yes.
When the child is not at the age where she can
Understand
understand.
that.
So
She learns by observing at that age.
she learns by observing. And for my children, their first experience of violence, because me and their father are very peaceful with each other. Even when we have disagreements, we have them away from the children.
Yes.
Because we don't ever want them to see us, not agree on a certain thing. By the time we come to them, we are a united
Right,
front and we are
yes.
speaking in one voice.
Yes.
So my children's first experience of violence is the violence of their sister directed to their mother. And that sort of shifts their perception of, is mom our protector, or should we maybe try and protect mom?
Oh, at that age.
At that age, it's a very difficult thing to help the child embody. Because it doesn't matter what you say. They've seen what they've seen.
Yeah, they can't unsee it.
They can't unsee it. So somehow you have to try and find a balance where they can view their sister in a certain light. So they mustn't see her at her weakest. Because I would say for any person with autism, a meltdown is the weakest point they can ever be. And that violence, in so much as it requires a lot of strength to be violent, you have to look at it as the ultimate weakness. Because it is not achieving what they intend to be achieved. She wants to feel comfort. She wants things to stay the same. She wants a certain level of stability. And unfortunately, the period is going to come. And what do you do? So that was that. And I learned in that period, because the violence was quite severe. That was the first time I learned, after so many years of practicing as a doctor, that is the first time I learned that you cannot admit a violent person in a private mental health institution.
Okay. So
Because I went to the doctor and I said, she's too violent. This is broken, and these are the injuries, these are my injuries. And the doctor said, well, in this case, the only thing that we must do is admit her so that we can start her on other medications that will have her be calm.
Yes. And
then we can, think about what we would do for her to not have a period. And there I was very naive, thinking that we are going to go to some private institution where I'm going to be allowed to visit as I wish and that kind of a
Yes.
thing. And I would be able to still talk to her,
Yeah.
to try and encourage her that, this too shall pass. But no, that's not how it happened. I ended up with her being admitted to a government hospital
Yes.
where they admit forensic patients. So a patient who has committed a crime and is
No.
found to have some form or another
Of
mental illness. So that's where she was admitted.
How old was she then?
She was around 12, 13.
Wow.
So there she was. And
That's another level of trauma for you now.
that is a different level of trauma. You know, I went there knowing that she was not going to just, walk in there like we are walking inside the mall, know. I did expect a little bit of resistance, but I didn't expect what happened. That the situation of even getting admitted rendered her so violent that she even needed stitches.
What's that?
She needed to be so because
she had herself.
She had herself because we are trying to get her into this ward, and then I'm supposed to go away because I cannot be admitted there with her. I cannot stay with her there. So that moment of me leaving, she had the biggest meltdown that I've ever seen. I don't think even now I've ever seen such a big meltdown from her. That she literally threw her face onto the steel bars that they used to close the ward. And, she had such a big wound on her face that when they called me, they were like, well, we need to take her to emergencies because she needs stitches. And I remember thinking in that middle of the night that this child will never agree to be stitched. Never. And because she's a child who had been medicated from the time that she was 2.5 when she was diagnosed, whatever sedative that they tried to give her didn't do anything. It just made her even more agitated. So where they would give you something and you sleep and then they can do the work that they need to do in order to... No, she didn't sleep. Instead, she became even more agitated by the fact. So that night, she ended up leaving the emergency unit with that wound still open. All they did was just try and arrest the bleeding, and then just put some form of dressing on it, which is the only thing that she could allow them to do. She spent 21 days in that unit, and for the entire 21 days, I was only allowed to visit twice a week, and those visits were themselves painful. Because the minute she sees me coming for the visit, she would already interpret that as saying, okay, mommy is coming to take me. So when I leave, we start all over again with that whole thing. And in so much as you get used to this negative kind of response from her not wanting to be separated from me. There was this one particular visit, just a few days before she was discharged, where I went to visit and I told her that, in an hour I have to go home. And she was like, okay, mommy. No meltdown, no complaints, no words, nothing. She was just like, okay, mommy, bye-bye.
And that was it. Didn't even wait for the hour now.
No, she didn't even wait for the hour. She literally just stood up and took herself back into the ward because we had visiting rooms on a little bit more outside of the ward.
Yes.
Yeah. So she stood up and she left. I mean, I was like, wow.
Okay, maybe she would have adjusted then.
Yeah, I interpreted that way as well. I thought, okay, whatever medications that she's on seem to be doing the right thing, because now she can understand that I will go and I will always come back. So that was that 21 days. But after that 21 days, I had to come to a very difficult decision. All along, I had been the parent who says, I want to stay with my child. I want to see her
Yeah.
every day. I want to be able
Yeah.
to do A, B, C, D
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
But
You had to sit and think now.
what happened this time was that I reflected with myself in my own, silence to say, what happens on the day that this violence visits again? And the person at the other end of the violence is not me, but is Noble.
And I did want to interject somewhere when you were speaking, because the question I've got is those 21 days, because this is now, and when we started, I wanted to understand the integration of the teenage label and a growing Nobuhle, things that you would experience that you never experienced before, the first times and all of that. I wanted to ask you those 21 days visits, during visiting times and off visiting times, your thoughts, because I'm sitting next to you. I kind of have the privilege of sensing the energy that decision of taking her to that hospital is not like you had any alternative. It's not like you have
No.
a choice. It was the most painful thing for you
It
to
was-
even leave her in that government institute.
Yes.
With people that intentionally got themselves in trouble, and here's a child who didn't.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're quick to judge and say, how can you, what kind of, so I think maybe us understanding how that world is for you to actually have to say.
And I'll tell you, for the rural community where I come from, autism is equivalent to a crazy person. So already I was going into that situation where the child had already been stigmatized. She didn't need to experience this violence in order to experience stigma, but she was already stigmatized by virtue of the way she was.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I felt like that admission was in a way, pouring pepper on a wound to say, as a person who comes from this village, my child is already regarded as someone who is crazy. And then now, these hospitals, people who struggle with mental illness are very stigmatized throughout.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether that mental illness is depression or it's schizophrenia or it's some form of psychosis because you took something, but there is a huge stigma attached to that. And then now the child is admitted there, and further than that, she's admitted where people go there because they've committed one or another crime. And just to put it out there, violence is a crime.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah,
And
violence.
and
For people who hit other people.
Yes, you have to sort of let it settle. You have to let it settle. Hore, the choice of institution is based on the troublesome symptom.
By choice, it's good. If the troublesome symptoms came by choice, well, I would be okay. But
So what would break you in that situation is you understanding that she didn't choose.
Yes.
And even now, she's not
choosing, right.
We are choosing for her through that pain of knowing that we are choosing.
So, and you are choosing for her, but there are other things that make you make the choice. For a lot of people. Yeah.
I'm choosing for a lot of people. And I have to say, there were days where I wished someone else would decide. That I wouldn't have to decide anything. Because if I don't have to decide anything, I can then do the most human thing possible.
blame.
Start blaming another person.
Yes.
Yeah, you decided this way. That's why. That's how we ended up here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think I gave myself permission to have those thoughts and entertain them that far, so that I can get to a more brighter place where I say a decision is good or bad based on why you are doing it.
Yeah, the facts on the table.
The facts on the table.
Then you made a decision. It was an appropriate decision given all of those facts around you.
Is my small little girl, very tiny built human being who was born prematurely, and she's got a loud mouth, but no strength to back it up. You understand? So I had to decide in that manner to say, in this violent outburst, if she can hurt me this much, what more if it's the smaller one of all of us? So I made that decision. She went. You have to sort of forget that there is something called pride. You must forget that you are ever proud of anything. You must just forget it.
As a doctor, as you are.
Yeah, you must just forget it. And remember, the thing about being a doctor in a certain place, we tend to know each other well.
Yeah.
And you go to someone who you trust, who knows you and you know them, but also there is that level of vulnerability that says this person now knows my weakest spot.
Yes.
Which is not an easy thing.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying you have to take your pride
Put it
and
aside.
throw it somewhere and stick to the goal of saying she needs someone to treat her that is not her mother. Because you are not going to be able to be sensible when you are treating your own child. Well, at least for this serious bit of a disease, it's not like treating the flu or a little bit of vomiting or an allergy or an abrasion from playing outside.
Right.
So yeah, that was quite a difficult period. And when the 21 days ended, because I kept asking myself, what am I going to do?
What's life after the 21
What
days?
is life looking like for us as a family after this 21 days? And then I realized that in addition to the periods, the lack of predictability that is in a house where there are other people with their own schedules, the way in which we would eat in the house wouldn't be a way that would be conducive to her in terms of her energy levels and her dysregulation and all that. And the sheer high levels of medications that she had to take meant that the house became a little bit more unsafe even for the little ones, because if the child was to bump upon one of Mleboheng's tablets, it would be strong enough to can end her life. You know what I mean? So after that I decided, not an easy decision,
Of course,
but I said to myself, the best thing to do for her is to put her in an environment where she would be able to thrive, where all the unpredictability of living in a normal household will be eliminated, at least for the majority of the time. So after that 21 days, then I looked for a boarding school for her. Not easy for a person who I get dysregulated by her not being in the house.
Right.
So, but I had to make that decision for her and for my other children so that they get to live in an environment that is always safe for all of them. So Mleboheng then went to boarding school after that 21 days.
I'm gonna go back to motherhood, but this time, and in my for people that know me in my career that worked with me, they know that I am obsessed about motherhood in the boardroom. Even now, as what I call myself, a purpose architect, the first people that I navigate towards is mothers. What you are talking about is the strength and advantage that motherhood brings in any form of leadership.
Yes.
Because you making a decision for the person that you are leading. So if I use as a leadership, and other people that you are
Yes.
it doesn't feel and sound like a popular decision for us who can sit outside and judge it.
Yes.
But it is a decision that caters for more than one person. You'll probably consider yourself last in terms of that decision.
Yes.
By the time you've made it for everybody else, and that is why I am pushing for mothers who are in the boardroom to show up as mothers.
Yes.
I understand showing up as a woman. I've been showing up as a woman and I like that and it's okay. But immediately you take your hat and your coat as a mother, you show another level of leadership that no male, no best CEO in the world that doesn't have that can match it.
Yes.
And I find that the time is now, because I've been a leader in many organizations. As I say, I've showed up as a woman, but when I decided to start showing up as a mother, my leadership style changed. And I want to encourage mothers to do that, because this, what you are demonstrating, is exactly that. The power of leadership, the power of changing for the good.
Yes.
Changing the direction of that organization or that business because you're showing up as a mother.
Yes.
You know, motherhood as a leadership trait, very
Very
much
important.
advantageous of that. And I'm on a quest to make sure that those corporates, they start looking at women. I love it, but start looking at the mothers, the women that are mothers, and mothers to embrace that and take it with.
Yeah. And I think that is an exceedingly important conversation, because we cannot sit and say to mothers, don't be leaders just because you are a mother. Because the very role of motherhood has leadership within
exactly.
it. Because you have to lead those little individuals somewhere.
Yes.
So,
and you have to make those difficult choices.
And for myself, as a person who decided that despite having a baby with challenges, I am still going to push for my own career in order to reach that leadership stage.
Exactly.
I can tell you that even in the medical field, there is still a lot of stigma that goes to people like me. So I mean,
for medical people, you guys should understand that
it's supposed to be the most compassionate profession, but in many ways, and I think many doctors would agree with me, the medical field has a high level of toxicity. So I found myself having to resign from a job because the leader of that department had said something that I thought stigmatizes me. So painful as it is, but it is something that we can only change by acknowledging that it is there.
Right.
Painful as it is. I mean,
and equipping those that are coming after you guys.
Yeah, so
those
that they
doctors
don't.
That are training.
So that they don't fall into the same traps.
And they don't think
and
it
I
doesn't
think
happen.
Probably, if we were to check, doctors have a very high rate of depression themselves about the career itself. So if you add being a mother to a child with special needs to that mix of toxicity of that work environment, it becomes an even higher mountain to climb, because you are doing it because you are able to do it, but it doesn't mean that the person who is even there to help you do it believes that you can do it.
I think I need to get to speak to you guys as doctors and understand what does it take to be a doctor. I'm gonna put a
question mark.
Yeah, and a sticky note to say I need to have a conversation with doctors and the journey thereof. It sounds like, but I hope that in all the stigmatization and challenges you went through, you were not stigmatized by the fact that you are raising an autistic child by your doctor environment?
No, I was because I will just quote for you verbatim what this gentleman say. I won't mention his name.
Yes.
But basically, I was in a registrarship program to study to be a specialist in a certain field. I don't want to mention the field as well. And I applied for leave. And I wanted to give a reason why I'm applying for leave that urgently when we have a year planner where I had put in a different leave request.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I thought if I explain to this gentleman that I'm having this and this a challenge with my child, and I think I need this much time off to go and sort that out so that when I come back, I am fully present in this work. And one, he didn't refuse me the leave. He still approved the leave. But the words stick with me even today.
Yeah.
Because he said something to the tune of, registrarship is not for single mothers, and it's definitely not for mothers with handicapped children.
Oh my.
And he put a full stop to
God.
that. And, I froze for a minute because I thought to myself, wow.
Wow.
What a wow. I thought, yeah, people can speak, hey?
Yo.
And their words can be as sharp as a sword.
Yeah, they can tear you.
And I didn't respond immediately because maybe for that level of shock, I signed off the leave, and I thanked him for granting me the leave, and I left. And I went to go and do whatever it was that I needed to do with my child. And when I came back, I was fuming because it took me that long
to process
to process the words. It took me that long. And that moment, I have to say, I became less religious at that moment, because I used to look at him and the way he would run our meetings by talking about the Bible and telling us how much we should believe in God and all that, only for him to then come off as being that judgmental towards me. Then it changed my mind completely about how can you be religious and do this? What kind of religion is this? Because whatever kind it is, I don't want to subscribe to it because it is too painful, And I came back fuming to the point that I actually resigned, And I did my best to be as hurtful as I can with my words in retaliation to what he had said. Because I don't think that there is any mother who deserves to hear those words coming from anyone.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't care how good and proper and you are, but I don't think anyone needs to utter those kind of words to another person. So that is the level of toxicity that is in that workplace where we are meant to deal with the sick.
I will definitely come back for that. Wow. Okay, let me drink to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you took Mlebogang to boarding school.
Yes.
So because we are in this integration, how then you are managing the integration. I'm holding on to the words that you picked, because every time you say some nuggets that I'm like, okay, this too shall pass. That's what you said.
Yes.
This too shall pass. Yeah. Okay.
Because at that time I was thinking about the violence. I was thinking about, this state of dismay where the environment that is my home is always filled with a certain level of tension, of not knowing what the next thing would be. Because she also doesn't know.
Exactly.
She cannot predict when it's gonna come. So she's just as surprised as all of us when it happens. So I was trying to make the home to be as sacred as it should be.
Yeah.
It should be a place where the kids feel safe, where I am safe, they are safe, and we can all just be loving on each other and be learning how to exist in the world out there. So I did that for that purpose, but that doesn't mean that it became any easier.
Right.
Leaving her there most of the time involved a certain level of a fight for her to, because I think in my mind, when I'm trying to just interpret the behaviors that I saw every time I would go and drop her off,
Yes.
I think she interpreted the boarding school as a certain level of punishment.
Right.
And it's not a punishment that she could understand. Even though after leaving, she would adjust and she would learn, she would be happy and stuff like that. But every time when we had to drop her off, it was like, Mommy, please don't leave me here. I promise I'll be a good girl if you just take me home. Because then it's interpreted as punishment.
Yes.
To say, okay, I'm putting you here because you are a bad girl. And that was never the intention. But it's also not something that you can explain to her to a level of understanding that I have.
Yes.
Or that another, typical person would have. But
so you would pick her up on holidays? And
I would pick her up on holidays. I would pick her up for, certain special days.
Yes.
Like, for example, she never had to spend a birthday at the boarding school. So I would always fetch her so that she can come home and we'll celebrate her birthday together, and then I will take her back. If I had any level of celebration somewhere, I would always go and fetch her to be home.
Yeah.
So that she can experience those moments with us, and that she can feel that she is still a very important part of our family, despite her staying away.
Yeah. Yes.
So I still continue to do that even now, where I would just say, okay, her birthday is coming up, let's plan a small intimate thing, but let us go and fetch her, and so that we can spend her birthday with her. She spends our birthdays with us as well, as much as we can control according to the school calendar and what it would allow us.
Yeah.
So that is what we do. And Sakile doesn't have to experience what Nobuhle experienced to a greater extent, because he only experiences her sister under those controlled circumstances during the holidays and during the weekends that we would go and fetch her. And in the main, if the routine stays okay the majority of the time, having something small out of routine usually doesn't take her off balance.
Okay. So there's a level of regulation that she's
there's a level of regulation that she has gained to at least be able to experience the happiness of saying, this time I'm going home.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with Mulebo.
So right now she's at boarding school.
Yes.
And you holidays she's home. With the
and
siblings.
I also want to have a lot of control as to what happens during the holidays, so that we don't completely dysregulate her. It is easier to adjust the routine for for 1 week for everyone in the house than it would be to adjust it every day. So we always take it as it comes during those times where we spend time with her. We try to make it as reasonable as we can for her so that she doesn't have to experience meltdowns when she's with us.
So I keep on looking at my notes because I was just pulling one of my notes around what I think the integration required a lot from you.
Yes.
In the previous conversation, it was whatever your mind can believe and can conceive and believe your mind can achieve, quoting from Think and Grow Rich. So I just was pulling something around decision. I heard at some point that the word decision is talking about dividing. I probably not articulating it the right way, but it's dividing, almost like saying you choose one thing over another. And you decide to make it. And Napoleon Hill speaks of successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, and unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and changes them very, very often. But one thing that I want to just pull is decision is not about speed for the sake of speed. And I think I've picked that up. It says decision is about clarity of thought, commitment without hesitation.
Yes.
Emotional discipline, and refusal to just drift.
Yeah.
And go anywhere.
Yeah, because in this instant, you can imagine how much disorder there would be in my household if I was drifting.
Yes. I mean, if you...
I would raise very traumatized adults.
So you needed to sit down and, think and grow rich. You needed to sit down and really be deep in thought and have lots of conversations with yourself.
Yes.
About the decision that you're going to take to say she has to go to boarding school.
Yes.
And I can imagine not only did she feel abandoned from her side, you also felt something.
Yes. I also felt that I'm abandoning her,
even
though I knew where the decision was coming from. And I also, to a large extent, felt somewhat defeated, to say that I couldn't will a perfect situation for my family. Yes. Because we would like to all, be together in the same household, but the needs are so different that it is difficult to maintain.
Absolutely.
So for me, I had to do a lot of work internally on myself to deal with the guilt, to not experience regret, because I knew that every decision that I've ever taken pertaining to my children comes from a very loving, good place. And I want them to be able to know that. Maybe Nobuhle and Sakile will grow to know it, that even though this decision was difficult, but Mommy made it because she needed for us to get to a certain place, which is good for us. For Moleboheng, you just have to accept it for her and for yourself. Because I don't think she will get to that place of understanding it.
Right.
But in her own way, she tends to look forward to certain things. So when I drop her off, some days she looks forward to me coming back instead of being sad for coming. So sometimes she looks forward to that. And I also try to compensate for the time away, that when she is home, I will automatically give her much more attention than the other children. Then people will look down on you and say, hey, you're showing favoritism as a mother. No, I'm not. I am fulfilling a need for a child who is away for necessity. So I want her to still be able to feel my love even when she is there.
Exactly.
So when she is with me, it might look like an overcompensation, but I'm doing it intentionally because I go with her to the shops, we go to the salon together, we go choosing clothes
yeah.
together, those kind of things
Yeah.
that maybe Nobuhle might take for granted
Yes.
because we do them all
All
the
the time.
and they don't have to even be intricately planned. While for her sister, everything has to be well thought of and it has to be well planned.
So I suppose as you do that, I mean, you mentioned that some people might look and say you're showing favoritism, and I think for Nobuhle and Nosakile at some point as they grow, if you haven't done that already, because I don't know at what age it will be something that they understand, for them to understand that when Lebu is at home, you're going to kind of push the attention towards her, for
her.
them not to feel like, oh no, we are not giving the attention.
For my well opinionated 7-year-old,
Yeah.
that conversation is already evolving.
Okay.
And
with her level of understanding.
with her level of understanding.
Yeah.
So right now it is still at that very selfish stage of, Mommy, you bought Lebo a t-shirt and you didn't buy me anything. You know, and then we have to sit and teach her ability to be happy for someone else without feeling that that thing takes away anything from her. So I am very intentional when I
Yes.
have those conversations.
Yes.
So even if now it's a cry about a t-shirt or about shoes, the next minute is a cry about the fact that, oh, you gave Lebo a hug first before you gave me. But I am busy teaching her that she should be happy that her sister right now can accept a hug because she's not always able to accept the hug.
Wow.
So she is learning.
Yeah.
And I also put that in practice so that they don't develop resistance or resentment to
Yes.
their older sister.
Yes.
I also put it in practice for just the two of them together.
Right.
To say, if you are asking Mommy to buy you a doll,
Yeah.
what are you asking Mommy to buy Sakile? So that they learn that Mommy is Mommy for all of us and not Mommy just for me because right now I want her to be all mine. So I'm conscious about that lesson to say to explain to her that seeing Lebo at her weakest doesn't mean she must love her less. So
You know, it's almost like if I go back to our very first conversation, motherhood was something that in fact, it almost felt like it was something that you yearned for. I don't know, second to you being a doctor or first to you being a doctor, I don't know. But yes. I know it's been very, very central to you.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here and I strongly feel that God gave you more than motherhood.
Yeah.
He gave you the opportunity to be a mother in circumstances that some of us will probably not even be able to survive in. And I'm thinking and probably concluding in my mind that we know that God won't give you more than what you can handle. I say that with so much care because sometimes it sounds careless, as if you're not understanding what the person is going through. I can kill other people if they come to some of my situation and give me that scripture.
Exactly.
However, I want to try and borrow it and use it now to say, and taking advantage of the fact that you're telling us how you overcame and we're learning and getting transformed along the way, to say that what God gave you was almost like entrusting you with an institution of motherhood so that we can learn. And yes. I'm not the only one. Everybody who is going to be listening to these conversations 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, 100 years from now will be hearing and will be transformed by you being a mother in these circumstances. Buhle and Sakile are not children that you can just pick everywhere. They are children that grow in this situation and have to learn certain things that my children will probably never be able to learn. So they are also already labeled extraordinary and how they're going to show up out there in their own way on how to transform other children. So if I go back to the part I was reading around decision, in terms of what you just said, even now, is decision is also described as a moment where circumstances did not really improve. When circumstances did not really improve, systems did not pause, emotions were not really resolved, but a decision was
still made.
Nonetheless.
Yes.
And
That
that
is
for me,
absolutely true for me.
and that for me is transformation.
Yes.
We come out of this conversation because
Transformed.
by the power of decision.
Yes.
You know, of course, it is clear that Napoleon Hill was way ahead of his time, and I'm so glad to be holding that message for him in
Yes.
Africa, legally so. As we close, Dr. Tracy, very grateful, fully transformed, and I'm going to read this again. Decision is a moment where when circumstances have not improved, systems did not pause, emotions were not resolved, but a decision needed to be made, and a decision was made, and that is the point of transformation. As we close, I'm going to ask you to do maybe two things.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to, in your own words, to say a word of gratitude to your pillars of strength, your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Then I'll come and ask you something else.
Yeah.
Please go
No,
ahead.
that is difficult.
Speak to them.
I think my mom and dad continue to stand in the gap. And they continue to carry me. And I couldn't be more grateful. Because God knew that they were giving birth to this person. I think before they even knew that this was gonna be my journey, they were able to love me in the way that I needed to equip me for such a journey.
All right.
And I don't take that for granted, because I never had to deal with abandonment, a lack of belief, or negative talk from my parents. They might have experienced me at my lowest, but the words that they spoke to me and into me were always words that built me. They gave me that little bit of a strength. And even in those moments where we knew no words, but to just shed tears together, those moments still spoke volumes. And there is nothing better that I can say except to say thank you and God bless you.
So your mom and dad, I know they speak Sepedi.
Yes.
You probably will really, I usually hear you. You hardly speak English.
Yeah.
Though you both, I mean, your parents are educated, so they
Yes.
can speak English. So they might not listen to this, and it's fine. But for the angels, for God to take the message, can you speak directly to them in your own language? We will.
So I will just say that Male Papa, Modimo a le dire ka go loka.
Thank you. Modimo a le dire ka go loka. Thank you for being the parents that some of us didn't have, for pouring so much love, so that this vessel that God has brought into this earth through you will be able to transform us today. Thank you, Mama le Papa. The last person for now that I would like you to speak to is your sister.
My confidant, my secret keeper. These are words that I would use to describe my sister. The person who, I don't know how to say this in English, but so when I cry, she is the one who takes what I'm supposed to do and does it with absolute love while I fall apart. So Huareleja is to you know, so when my tears fall, they always fall there. And I don't know what manner of love that is, but she takes me as I am, because that's how our parents taught us. She never ever speaks a word of judgment. And when I'm not ready to make a decision, she might make it and freeze with it until such a time that I'm ready. So she will always say to me, I was waiting for you to say it so that I can hold you through it. So, and God blessed her with such a kind husband that he is able to support her while she supports me. Because I don't think that the situation was ever easy for her. But because of that level of support that she has from her husband, she is able to fully and truly be present for me in my time of need. And it doesn't matter what the need is. The need might not even be about the children. But she has a way of being able to catch me as the sister that she remembers. To just catch me in those moments and say, you don't have to disappear because you are a mother. You can still be present fully as yourself, even as you go through such tough strides of mothering.
And I do note that you are the eldest. She is your younger sister.
Yes.
But we really thank her. So again, I'm going to ask you to speak directly to her in a language. Whether you guys speak English, we'd never know. Whichever
Yes.
way that you guys speak.
I speak the majority of the time with my sister in English, which is something that is very strange. But Kero, you are the wind beneath my wings.
The wind beneath her wings. Kero, I hope you hear that. That's it for today. We have traveled this far. Transformation comes in different ways. I need to go breathe my transformation in myself. I'm so grateful for God to trust me with conversations like this, Dr. Tracy. I'm really in awe myself of what God is doing here in this platform. I am Lerato Sithole in Conversation with Greatness. Until we meet again.